Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing great today. This is Roger with Groovis Games Unlimited, the creator of the Avalon adventure board game and Dungeon Crusade, and I greatly welcome you to this mini series on the evolved combat system for Dungeon Crusade. I am so excited and amped up for this video with you. Um, First of all, I hope everyone's doing great. We're moving into November now. It's just this year has really flown by. So I hope that you're doing good. I hope you're excited for this video. I think we're going to have a lot of fun here. You're going to learn a lot about the combat system. And this particular video I have wanted to do for a while now that just touches on the land of Avalon and what I was out to do with creating these 6 different warfare types. So we're going to get into that. New subscribers, thank you. We love you. It's so awesome that you're here. I hope you're enjoying all this Crusade chaos going on. So listen, let's just get right into this because I know you're excited about this. I am. Part 2 is going to be the live demo that I'm looking forward to. And I think by the end of this, you're going to go away wanting to really play the heck out of Dungeon Crusade. I'm very excited. So let's get on with this. I first want to say, I'm calling it the legacy combat system. You can, of course, still use that. There's nothing wrong with it. So really you have 2 options to play. But moving forward, the new evolved combat system, let's look at some of the benefits of this. And truly you'll see this when you use this, or just by the end of this, you'll see how like all of these things that, all the benefits. The evolved combat system it's way more streamlined than it was before. And again, there's nothing wrong with how it was before, but this is just a really cool system to implement if you want it fast-paced, and that's what we want with Dungeon Crusade. We want this game to be popping all the time for you, which it does. There's just always something happening in this game. So the evolved combat system definitely builds on that. So this system way more streamlined, more quicker, and what I mean quicker is the combat between the heroes, and this is going to be talking about champion monsters that reside behind these doors in the chambers of the dungeon. They're usually safeguarding quest items, and over here with the guardians. So what we're going to discuss here is going to be chamber combat with champion monsters and the guardians. Okay, and I'm going to point you real quick. I did a really nice series on the evolved minions, and this just a significant amount of benefits to the evolved minions, and this kind of what we're going to talk about was built off of this. And again, this is really a nice system, very quick. I'm going to leave you links if you haven't seen this yet. I would highly encourage you to watch this. I think you'll really enjoy it. So go watch the evolved minions, and it's like a 3-part video, but I do a lot of demos, give you some strategy tips, and so I just want to point that out. So we're going to be talking about chamber combat with champion monsters and guardians in this video specifically. So it's much quicker. Battles are they're over within, I don't know, 30 seconds maybe, around there, 20 seconds, depending on who you're fighting. It's more thematic, definitely. Excuse me. Rallying heroes is essential now, and it's just easy and it's just fun. So rallying heroes is essential, as we're going to discuss, and this combat system fits the vibe and style of Dungeon Crusade, and that was really important to me, just to keep that flavor of, Dungeon Crusade in the combat system. And again, it's almost the same thing, but it's been really streamlined quite a bit. It's more strategic now with, putting heroes together. Easier to understand. You're going to get this combat system in probably a minute, no more than 2. So it's very easy to understand, much smoother gameplay this offers, and it's just more fun, to be quite honest with you. So let's dig into this. I hope you're excited for this. I know I am. I'm looking forward to doing the live demo for you in part 2. So let's discuss this a little further. Okay, so let's start with chamber combat. Here we are. let's say that you're standing outside of a chamber door in Dungeon Crusade, and let's bring in Maheliak. So here's your hero, okay? Now, if you know Dungeon Crusade, I'm going to try to give you a crash course. Champion monsters reside in the chambers of the dungeon, and they're usually safeguarding quest items that your heroes need. And here's kind of the cool thing about it, because this is a dungeon crawler, you have no idea what is inside of the chambers of the dungeon. Now, the way I designed it is, let's say Maheliak here, your hero was a level 1. So with the system I did for the quests, that there's a few different things you could find. Most likely, you're gonna find a level 1 champion monster, but you're never gonna know what champion monster that is, okay? There's a very, very slight chance the chamber could be empty. And then there's a slight chance there could be a level 2 monster in there. So truly, you don't know what's behind these chamber doors. And then, as that moves up, so if once your heroes reach level 2, it just kind of moves up with that. There's a chance there's a good chance that a level 2 monster will be in there, slight chance for a level 3, slight chance for an empty chamber, and then, as you could imagine, if they're level 3, there's a very good chance a level 3 champion monster will be behind a chamber door, possibly a level 4, maybe an empty chamber. So I hope you see, you never know, and that's what we want in our dungeon crawl games, right? We want that element of surprise. But going back to this evolved combat system, let me ask you, and this will make a lot of sense when we get into our live demo. Let's say you were really going to go into a dungeon, right? You're here, you're about to go through a chamber door, you have no idea what's in there. Would you want to go in solo by yourself? Because anything could be in there. Any kind of monster could be lurking in there for your solo hero. Or would you want to get a few of your comrades to go in there with you? Your cleric Faith and Sir Brennus, our knight hero. Doesn't that make more sense to go in there with a party of heroes? And that's something I was out to do with Dungeon Crusade, is address true party building. So you could go in by yourself, which you could always do, or you go in with a few heroes. That brings me to rallying. On the back of the initiative tokens, you're gonna, when you flip them over, they're gonna say rally. So Sir Brennus here would rally, he would call out to his comrades, I'm gonna rally Faith to go in there with me, and then you can rally up to one more hero, so you could have 3 heroes go in. And so it's a strategy to consider when you're gonna go into a chamber, again, because you don't know what could be lurking behind that door. Hopefully I hit that home for you. But, maybe you could just take 2 in, But we're going to get into party building very soon, and then you're going to see the benefit of rallying and putting certain heroes together who are proficient in these warfare types here. And the system works perfectly for this. So, rallying heroes. Just remember this as we move forward. You definitely want to rally some heroes when you enter in a chamber, and like this little poster says, Pro Crusader tip number 13, create a party of heroes to become your guardian hunters, to take down the guardians of the dungeon. Guardians, this is Banevic by the way, they are like the boss monsters in the game. They're very, very tough. So again, we're just going to go back. This is Zeke, our wizard, and Faith, our cleric. Let's say they weren't here. What would you do? Think about it. If you're going to attack this big giant ogre with a spike club, would you go at it alone? No. These games are made for party building, and that's, again, what I wanted to address. You would get your comrades, become your guardian hunters, rally them together, and then you all attack. The boss monster or the guardian. And again, when we move into the live demo, I'm glad I'm saying this now, because it's all going to fall into place when you see how all of this works and how essential it is to rally heroes. Okay, with all of that being said, let's move over to the land of Avalon and get into these warfare types and what I was set out to do with this true party building. And we're going to touch a little bit on the combat system, but I think that this is all going to fall in place with you here. We're going to zoom in so you can see it, and just notice as we're looking at this at all the different like regions, with a snowy area, and here's like a beach area, kind of like this dead area here. To the south by Stonefield, it's kind of arid, desert-like, kind of like a creepy zone right here with the Vile Tower, and this kind of like mystical, magical area with the village of Mistvale and Black Nether Dungeon. So, I mean, I wanted to create a vast land for people, to explore in the Avalon adventure board game, and, to draw them in to all the lore of this and do some good world building. But let's pull this back. Let's move over to this one now. So these 6 warfare types, let's get these on the screen. Okay, and I'm going to break these down. But like I've said this many times, in our world, we have all these different fighting styles, right? There's this regular street fighting and karate and judo and taekwondo, so on and so forth. So when I created Dungeon Crusade of this land, I wanted that to be for the heroes and monsters and creatures in the game. So up here, here the red, hopefully you can see my cursor thing moving. This is physical warfare. Think swords. Blue is ranged. Think crossbows, bows. Over here, chaos is black, axes. Green, think of like arcane, like staffs. Over here, this is orange is spiritual warfare, and think like maces and scepters. And finally, purple is mythical, daggers. So those kind of weapons are attached to these warfare types, but also, let's turn on the dice. For combat, you're going to be using these different colored dice, and there are D6 and D12. So when you're combating monsters, you're going to be using these series of dice to roll. Okay? And let's move over to a hero card. But first, hopefully, just clearing this up or finishing it up here, that's what I was out to do, is create this vast land, but there's all these different fighting styles or warfare types, as they're called in the game. And that just gave me a lot of, variety to make some of the heroes proficient in a few of these and not proficient in the others, while other heroes will be more proficient. And let's go over to a hero card. I can more explain it better. So let me get my red marker here. See right here, these are the warfare types. This is Maheliak, our barbarian. And yeah, this will hit it home for you right here. So this is his level 1 card. He's a barbarian. Here's Chaos Warfare. Notice +3. If we look back at the black dice, that's Chaos Warfare, right? He can add a +3 when he's rolling those dice. Make sense? Same with over here at Physical Warfare. He has a +2. Right here, remember the red dice? So when he's rolling the Physical Warfare dice, he can add +2. So one of the key words I always say is proficient. So Maheliak is very proficient in Chaos Warfare and Physical Warfare. Makes sense, right? Now look at Arcane Warfare here. -3. That means, he's not proficient. He's not versed in Arcane Warfare. He's a barbarian. But as a side note, you can, through leveling up and speccing out your heroes with different gear, you can actually make him proficient. But at level 1, he's not proficient. So when he rolls the green dice here, the Arcane Warfare, he's going to have to deduct 3 from that roll because he's not proficient in it. Same goes for Spiritual Warfare. When he rolls the orange dice here, he's going to have to deduct 2 from that because he's not good at it, just like all of us, we're good at some things, we're not good at others. And notice here at Ranged Warfare and Mythical, he's middle of the road. See how that kind of all works with the warfare types? I don't think I've ever went this in depth before, and I'm glad that I did in this video. Okay, so you have kind of a good understanding about Maheliak. You see his strengths, you see his weaknesses, and his, he's kind of middle of the road. So let's erase this. So this is where the true party building, it's going to hit it home right here. Let's take a look at Zeke. He's our wizard hero. Okay, let's look at arcane warfare. Again, here's his warfare types, just like on Maheliak's hero card. Now, it's the exact opposite with Zeke. He's, of course, our wizard. He's going to be very strong with arcane warfare, the green dice. So he can add a +3 to all arcane warfare rolls. He's a wizard. Over here, he's pretty good with spiritual warfare. So he can add a +1 to these orange dice. See how that works? And then over here, he is a little proficient in mythical warfare, +1. So with the purple dice, he could add +1. But here's the interesting thing. Notice chaos warfare, -2. He's terrible with chaos warfare. He's a wizard. He's not versed with like axes. Think of it that way. And he's absolutely terrible. He's not proficient at all with physical warfare. That's a -3, meaning, you probably already know this, he's going to have to deduct 3 if he has to fight a monster who's versed in physical warfare. So here's the point that's going to kind of hit it home. Remember we were talking about rallying heroes together over here to create like a party of heroes that could take on a good amount of monsters? By partying to party together, sorry, it's late, Maheliak and Zeke, think about that. You have Maheliak, if they run into a monster that's very versed in chaos warfare and physical, Maheliak excels at that. He's proficient. He can take care of that. Now, say they run into a monster that's, good at spell casting with arcane and spiritual. Well, Maheliak is not going to do good, but he's partied with Zeke, who excels at that. And again, I'm very glad I made this video because I think this is what I've been trying to say for so long. You see true party building. I think some of these games lack that. In Dungeon Crusade, it's kind of like, I've said, like a thinking man's dungeon crawl game, where you party these two together and they're going to be able to take on a good amount of monsters, by putting these two together. And there's so many different combinations you could do. Like here when they're fighting Banevik here. So hopefully now this is like all coming into focus. But now let's talk about the monsters here, and this is going to lead us into our live demo. And again, I hope you're enjoying this. I hope that you're kind of like, I see how all this works now. Let's look at Banevik, okay? Now, every monster, every creature in Dungeon Crusade, going back here, they are versed in 3 of the 6. You're never going to see them versed just in 1 or 2. All monsters are versed in 3 of the 6. So looking at Banevik, we can see he is proficient, versed in physical warfare. Let me put my red right here. Physical warfare, mythical warfare, and chaos warfare. So Maheliak would absolutely be great to go up against Banevik because, remember, he's proficient at that, right? He's going to be able to probably put some good damage on him. And right here, mythical warfare, Zeke has a +1, so he would be pretty good. Our rogue hero, Palum, has like a +3 at level 1, so she would be excellent to go, like Maheliak and Palum would be great to take on Banevik. And then real simply, this is how the combat works. See, for physical warfare, 12 and 2. That means when, let's say Maheliak was going to be fighting Banevik, we'll get into phases here when we get into the live demo. But let's say that he was going to roll the red dice. See the 12? That means he has to meet or exceed that 12 to land a hit. If it's under that, see the 2? You probably already know this. Maheliak's going to take 2 damage. That's really how the combat system works. But you're going to see in the live demo how smooth it is now with the evolved combat. So it's as simple as that. Those numbers here, you have to meet or exceed those on those dice. If it's under that, your hero is going to take damage. Okay, so let's clear that. So that's Banevik here, and we'll get into this, all this other stuff. It's very easy to understand, but we'll just stay on topic. And just lastly, this is a guardian. Remember, guardians traverse through the hallways and corridors of the dungeon. So that's what guardians do. Now let's take a look at a champion monster. And back at our chamber here, when we didn't know what's in there, champion monsters reside in the chambers of the dungeon. And notice here, we'll touch on this. See the gold star? This signifies that this is an elite champion monster. Elite champion monsters have special abilities. If you see a silver star and it's a keeper of the faith, there's all normal versions. If it has a silver star, it's a normal version, and they just have the origin stories I wrote for them, so they don't have a special ability. So when you pull a champion monster and it has a gold star, it's an elite, and it's going to have some kind of special ability like this Book of Tormented Souls. But just like we were discussing, and here is the keeper of the face. Warfare, it's, remember, versed in 3: arcane, spiritual, and chaos. So really, Mahaliak and Zeke would be perfect to enter into, say, this chamber. And if this was drawn, the keeper of the faith, they could do pretty well, because of course chaos warfare, Mahaliak would attack in chaos warfare, and Zeke would attack in arcane. And probably Zeke would attack in spiritual, though. But it's a level 2, so that would be a little tough for them. But hopefully with what I described, with the 3, all monsters, all creatures are versed in 3 of the 6. And starting out, heroes are versed in like 2 of the warfare types, middle of the road in a few others, and not proficient at all in the other ones. Again, it's just kind of like us. We're good at some things, we're not too good at others, and we're just kind of middle of the road, at other things. But, again, this allowed true party building, which is essential now, as you're going to see in the live demo that we have for you. Okay, I think that's about it. And hopefully all this made sense now, with like rallying heroes together before you enter. I think now definitely we should close out with that. Remember when we started, we talked about having Mahaliak just go in by himself. I think after what we discussed with all of this, it makes sense now. What would you do? Going in to fight a champion monster, you don't know. You would definitely want to rally a few of your comrades to go into that chamber to combat that champion monster, because they're going to be able to handle all these different warfare types. Where Mahaliak would be lacking, Zeke could pick up the slack with arcane and spiritual, so on and so forth. So rally, it's essential. So there you go, guys. This is part 1 of the Evolve combat system. We're definitely going to get into what the change is in the live video. I didn't want to touch on this here, but I think this gave you a crash course in learning about the warfare types, the dice, and you're going to love how it's executed. It's so, again, as we close out, more streamlined, more quicker. It's more thematic. Rallying heroes is essential. Fits the vibe and style of Dungeon Crusade. More strategic, easier to understand, very easy to understand, smoother gameplay, and it's just more fun. And that ends it for part 1. I hope you enjoyed this. So stay tuned for the live demo, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. And you're going to know this combat system right when you see it. But in the meantime, if you haven't seen it, go watch the Evolved Minions combat, and then I'll have the live demo of this up on Sunday sometime. Okay, guys, thank you. Really, I love hanging out with you guys. Hopefully you learned a lot about Dungeon Crusade and the land of Avalon and heroes being proficient and not proficient. Video was about 25 minutes, but I think it had a lot of good information to teach you the game more. Again, if you have any questions, just let me know. All right, everyone, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in part 2, and I'm very excited for this. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.